Welcome into this week's episode of Codcast. I'm your host, Emma Carman. We are so excited to welcome Josiah Gray on for today's episode. Josiah was drafted in the second round in 2018 by the Cincinnati Reds and now pitches for the Washington Nationals. He was a part of the Chatham Anglers team in the summer of 2017. Josiah, thanks so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
Doing great down here in West Palm Beach, Florida. Spring training just started and it's been great so far. And, glad to recap, my summer in the Cape and, kind of just focus in on what I'm doing now.
So as you mentioned, summer 2017, a part of that Anglers team. Crazy, it's 5 years ago from now. Obviously grew up in New York, not too far from the Cape. So kind of what was your first thought of being able to play in the Cape League and having that opportunity?
It was great. My coach up at Lemoyne College, approached me about the opportunity the fall of 2016, kind of just saying, hey, we have some interest in you out there. What do you think? My first answer is like, where? And, I was like, awesome, let's do it. The Cape is the most elite collegiate league out there in the summer. And I was all for it. It was obviously just as a pitcher because I played shortstop a little bit as well, but, I was all for it and everything, that summer was awesome.
You were obviously one of the only D2 players to play there that summer. The Cape's super competitive, a lot of Division I players. So how much did that mean to you that you were able to play there on a full contract?
Yeah, I think that's the reason, or part of the reason I'm where I am today. I went out to the Cape with a full contract as a D2 guy, which doesn't happen. And early on, I hit, a few road bumps and, I didn't have great outings. And, if I was on a temporary contract, probably would have got released and then would have had to find another team. But in having a full contract, they kept putting me out there and I ended up being able to turn my summer around and, more or less turn my career around out there in the Cape. And, having been afforded that opportunity, especially in Chatham as well, definitely changed my career for the better.
So you ended up leading the team in appearances, was a Cape League All-Star. You made a huge impact on that summer after that little bit of a bumpy road. Kind of what was the biggest switch for you in that transition and realizing like that you had to kind of turn things around there?
Honestly, just continue to fill up the strike zone and just go out there with complete confidence. I think, early on when I was running into some troubles, I was always like, man, this guy went to UNC or he went to Florida State. I can't get him out because I went to Lemoyne College. And once I sort of put that in the back of my mind, I started to have a lot more success just because, a fastball is a fastball, a slider is a slider, no matter Division I, Division III, or Division II, obviously. And, having that mentality that I'm going to get that guy out helps so much. And once I stopped thinking about, the school attached to the guy or, the stat line or anything like that, I went off and had a great rest of the summer and, a great rest of, a junior year into the draft.
And then obviously, super competitive down there, as I mentioned. Were there any players that summer that kind of gave you a little bit more troubles than others, or players that you would kind of see come up to the plate and be like, oh, here we go again?
Yeah, I remember I was playing at YD one day. It was the start of that bumpy path, I guess. And Nico Horner hit a home run off me. And not even 2 years later, he was debuting in the big leagues. And I always bring up like, hey, when someone asks, I'm like, hey, he hit a home run off me in 2017. So he's the first guy that comes to mind. There was someone that hit behind him that hit a home run too. It was like back to back. That I don't really remember their names, but I'm sure they're in the minor leagues, if not a big leaguer already. But yeah, those are the two guys I can think about. A lot of talent that I played that summer for sure.
On the opposite side of the spectrum, kind of who made the biggest impact to you from a player point of view? Obviously, all these players from around the country coming to one team, spending those 3 months together. Who has left the biggest impact on you from that summer?
Man, so many guys. Thinking back on my Chatham teammates, I roomed with guys just like Andre Palante, who's with the Cardinals prospect, Cameron Bishop, who's with the Orioles. Just learning from those guys, because they did play at those major Division I schools and they had a lot more, I guess, knowledge or just teaching in terms of pitching. So, just bouncing stuff off of them. I was only closer, so I was only throwing, 1 or 2 innings out there, but just hearing them talk about how they transitioned into starting, because my junior year I went off and became a starter. So just hearing from them, just kind of asking them questions, went a long way for me, and I think that definitely helped make that summer a lot more valuable. Just being able to be around those guys.
From players to coaches, kind of what were your coaches like that summer? What impact did they have on you, not only going back to college, but now playing minors to majors?
Oh, it was great. I think that was the last year John Schiffner was a manager out there. So, that obviously meant a lot to him. That meant a lot to us, being his last team out there. So he was a great manager to play for. And I remember texting him, a few days after I got drafted in 2018. I just said, hey, man, thank you for everything. Definitely wouldn't be in this position without you, bringing me out there to Chatham. Had a pitching coach, Rob Bono. I'm not too sure where he's at today in terms of coaching or anything like that, but he helped a lot in terms of just mentality, going out there and attacking guys. And, I can go off and list so many other guys, but those are probably the main two that had a direct impact on me.
Obviously, a ton of memories made in the quickest 3 months that flies by. What were some of the impactful ones that you still remember today, 5 years later?
Oh, man, so many. I guess even the first game, we went off and played Falmouth. And this is, I haven't played, I guess, the highest level of baseball yet. So going out to Falmouth, they have guys like Alec Boehm, eventual big league currently, and a couple other guys. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. And, just seeing the talent on each side was sort of mind blowing to me. And also during that time, the draft had just happened. So there were guys on my team, that were like, I don't know if I want to sign. I don't know if I want to play. Like, I might risk getting hurt. And just seeing that dynamic was really interesting to me. But yeah, getting out there for like that first week of games was eye-opening. Just seeing, velocity, hitters hitting home runs, top 100 prospects, out there just doing what they do. And it was a lot of fun to go out there and watch guys just play, because I love baseball. I love just watching guys play, and that was a lot of fun.
So for that summer with the host family, kind of what was that experience like? What was like a day in the life of you back then?
Honestly, it was pretty simple. Out there, I had 2 host families. I'm not too sure if they're working with the team still, but they were really good to me, just providing for us whenever, we needed in terms of, meals, just because we weren't making much money, and, being athletes and stuff. And, just giving us a place to stay. I think that's the biggest thing out there is, you want to be comfortable where you're at. And that was definitely achieved with, the host families I had out there. But I wasn't too foreign, I guess you could say, to the idea of host families. In summers past, I had host families, but definitely unique in the case just because of, the level of baseball. But then, you have a family that, that's willing to house you in this elite league, and, you're just comfortable. So it definitely takes a little bit of a weight off your plate and allows you to just go out there and play baseball and get ready for the next day.
So you mentioned other summers, obviously playing in different leagues is very different. What was the biggest thing you realized playing in the Cape compared to where you played prior?
The competition. I think a lot of guys will, reiterate that. It's just the competition is like, it's on a different level compared to what I saw going into there. Guys were hitting fastballs that were, upper to mid 90s to upper 90s velocity. So I was very used to that coming from a Division II level, and I was like, all right, I need to adjust because this is going to be a stepping stone for me, getting into professional baseball. So just seeing guys, that much better at the plate, that much better at the mound, definitely opened my eyes to competition that was in the Cape, but also that is soon to come in professional baseball. And I think the Cape definitely prepared me for professional baseball, and just seeing how guys are, working towards their goals, how guys get better, things like that.
So from 2017 summer, 2018 drafted, then 2019 was quite the transition with 3 levels from single A to high A, then double A. What was the biggest point that you realized you took from the Cape kind of into those transitions of playing minor league ball?
Yeah, like I said, it was, just the competition continued to get better and better. So I had to, continue to get better and better, just refine my approach, go out there, command the baseball better, command my off speed better. Those things always lead to success, but just seeing it and being there, you have to be able to do it and prove it to yourself. So for me, going into minor league baseball and then having the year I did have in 2019, it was just a bigger moment of just proving, I could do it to myself. That obviously all started at the Cape, with the first introduction to really elite competition, and then taking it on 2019, 3 levels, and then 2021 last year, the big league.
So making that MLB debut in July of 2021, kind of take me through that experience. Obviously a little bit different with COVID and not quite the normal MLB debut. So what was that like for you?
Honestly, it was great. COVID didn't limit it too much. I would say COVID, impacted everyone in 2020 in terms of, the baseball world just not having a real season. But 2021 came into camp ready to go, and eventually got the call mid-July, and that was a experience I'll never forget. Making my debut at Dodger Stadium in front of 50,000 people against the San Francisco Giants, a day I'll never forget. It was awesome just being able to embrace that moment, with family and friends after as well, while doing pretty well, if I say so myself. But yeah, everyone remembers their debut, and I'll never forget that, and it'll be something I have stories for years and years to come.
From the debut kind of to the first MLB start, and then obviously a little bit of trades here, you were involved in pretty much 2 pretty big trades, obviously with some big name major leaguers. What did it feel like to be involved with that?
Oh man, it's tough, but you sort of just appreciate it, just because more times than not it means the team wants you. So being drafted by the Reds, was a blessing, and then being traded to the Dodgers was another blessing, because they wanted me, and the Reds had other motives, and going to the Dodgers was awesome. And then obviously getting traded from the Dodgers to the Nationals was another moment of, hey, we want you, we think you're big league ready. They want those guys. So I was definitely shocked, but I was like, man, I'm open to the new opportunity, and here I am in 2022, fighting for a rotation spot, and that's all you want. You want to be able to go out there and showcase your skills. So, the trades they're going to happen because of the business of baseball, but hopefully they don't happen for a few more years, because I'm kind of getting tired of it. But yeah, it's part of the business, and you just roll with the punches and go out there and suit up and make sure you go out there and do your job.
In September of 2021, you recorded your first major league win. What was that like kind of in your mind? You were out there against the Marlins. Just like take me through the experience on the mound for that.
Super, super crazy. I got called up in July, and, I've been working from, July, August, I guess, through the middle of September, without a win. I think I had a few losses on my belt, and I was like, man, when am I going to be able to get over this hump? And, just going into Miami that day, I hadn't been pitching well the last few days as well. And I just was like, all right, let me try and right this ship today. Went out there and threw the ball pretty well. I think it was 6 innings, gave up 2 or so runs. And there was a point in time that in the 6th inning where, Alex Padilla, who was my catcher at the time, came out to me, after a mound visit and said, hey, we're going to get through this. I think there was a run on first and second, 1 out. We're going to get through this, because it was a similar situation I had been in earlier in the year, where I let those runners score, tie game. I leave the game, no decision. he says, hey, just trust me, we're going to get through this. So it's like, all right, took a deep breath, struck out the next guy, got the next guy to pop out. I'm out the game. We end up scoring, 3 or 4 runs next inning. It was in the cards that I was going to get the win. And, that moment was so fulfilling, because I had been working for it for 2 months, and everyone knew in the clubhouse that I had been working to try and get that first win, and just to get it there in Miami and, with my team was, like I said, something I'll never forget, and was super fulfilling.
So with anyone either viewing, listening, kind of what's the biggest advice you have for them, whether they're younger, whether they're kind of getting to that phase of getting drafted, the biggest advice you have for them when going through all these transitions?
Honestly, I would say work hard, which I'm sure a lot of people hear, but another one is just ask questions. I think there's so much knowledge out there in the game of baseball that, look up, if you look up to someone, go out, reach out and ask them a question about, what you have trouble with or what you should work on, things like that. I am taking it upon myself, this year to just ask guys to my left and right, hey, what are you thinking about throwing in this situation? What's your mentality, going into a game day? What's your mentality, say you haven't thrown for a week or so just because of the way schedules line up. Like, what's your mentality? I just want to start, asking more questions. So that's my advice for any young player. Instagram's a thing, Twitter's a thing. Just slide into someone's DMs and say, hey, how do you throw this pitch? What are you thinking here? And I think that'll definitely go a long way, along with putting in the work and doing things like that.
So I have to ask, what's the biggest person that you've asked, or the best advice you've received from someone?
Oh man, there's so much, but I think, after getting traded, we were on the plane. So I was with the Dodgers still currently, but just got traded to the Nationals, and, Clayton Kershaw, him and I talked for 30 seconds, if not shorter. And he kind of just said, hey man, just go over there, do your thing. It's a good opportunity. He kind of reminisced that he had never been traded, which everyone knows. But he kind of just was like, go over there, do your thing, and, make a name for yourself. Kind of just, for me, that made it a point to be like, all right, make sure they regret this trade 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road. So that was probably one of the most influential moments I can think about in my short major league career, because of, the person that was saying those words, but also, the truth behind it, saying, I have a great opportunity ahead of me here in Washington. It's a matter of me just taking advantage of it and going out there and competing and getting guys out.
So last thing before we close up our episode, I'm going to ask you a couple quick questions, and you have to give me the answers off the top of your head. The first one's a little bit of a throwback. So I have to ask, where was your favorite spot on the Cape? It can be restaurant, beach, certain field, anything like that.
Oh man, I love going to the fields, but there was a ice cream shop in Chatham, man, maybe Sunday School, something along those lines. It was really good.
Right here.
something like that. It was really good. And then I'll go that, and the Squire was a lot of fun, going after games, or, on the weekend at times. That was a lot of fun. So those are probably my top 2.
Love it. All right. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
I think it would be super speed, just because I can go anywhere as fast as I can. I don't have to dread a long car drive. I can get there in, 5 seconds. So.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that one yet. All right. What is one thing that people don't know about you?
Oh man. What don't they know about me? Well, people know I love baseball, but if they don't know about me, I really enjoy. Oh man.
It's a hard one.
This is a tough one. What don't people know about me?
Or at least not a lot of people.
I guess I really enjoy just sitting back on my phone, I guess, just not doing anything. Like currently, no TV on, just sitting back on my phone, or even just taking naps. I guess I take a lot of naps.
Relaxing.
Yeah, relaxing. I guess that all encompasses just relaxing. Taking a lot of naps.
That's good. Okay, if you could spend an afternoon with any athlete in history, who would it be?
I think I'd go with Michael Jordan. Just doing what he did in the game of basketball is amazing. But in a close second, like a baseball person, would probably be Ken Griffey Jr. Him, me, and my brothers. We grew up kind of just looking at him and being like, "Whoa, we want to be like him." We didn't hit lefty or throw lefty, but we were like, "That's what we want to be like." So I'd have to go with Michael Jordan and Ken Griffey Jr.
Love it. Last one. What is your baseball superstition or ritual, if you have one?
Yeah, I think I have one, but I wouldn't say they're as strict as other guys. I just try to maintain the same stuff I had as my last start, if my last start was good. So, say putting the same socks on, obviously washed, putting the same socks on, same sliders on, same undershirt on, same cleats. That's a big one for me. Same hat, same jersey, things like that. Trying keeping things the same, I think, kind of clears my mind up. Be like, all right, you're in the mode to go and repeat this, if not do better. So that's definitely my biggest, I guess, superstition.
Awesome. Well, that's it for today, Josiah. I appreciate your time and thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
This is Emma Carman signing off from Cape League Codcast. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast as well as follow us on social media at official CCBL on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you for all watching and have a wonderful week.